All right, great. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming in. We know it's March, it's March end. Of course, it's a busy time for everyone. I hope all your financial compliances are going well and be complete in time. Um, uh, we welcome you to Atma webinars. I am Vaishali, senior consultant at Atma. And since 2007, Atma has been supporting NGOs in building the capacities to create systems, and we focus on solving organizational development issues. And we started the Atma webinar series in 2017 as a platform where speakers can share practical experiences and knowledge so that all of us in the sector can benefit. And we cover various OD areas, right from HR, finance, fundraising, communications, and anything new that is going on in the sector, just like today's topic. You can find all our past webinars on our YouTube channel. We'll link it to you. Please do subscribe to it as well. Along with that, I also want to mention that we have, uh, uh, in fact, Kavita herself has worked on it extensively, something called the intermediary database. So just sharing the link with you in case you haven't seen it. Do access it. It has it's a verified list of people and services that are offered for various organizational development needs. So do explore that. Along with that, of course, today's topic as well is something that Kavita has worked on. The Social Stock Exchange, or SSE, as you all know, is something new at hand, has many technical aspects. So Atma, along with AT Chandra Foundation and the NSE has created this guidebook. And today we have Kavita who will take us through it, simplify it, and we're sharing the link to the guidebook in the chat box. You must have received it in your emails and during the registration as well. So you can keep it open on the side if you want. But of course, today Kavita has prepared this webinar so that it becomes easier to navigate this guidebook itself, right? And before handing it over to Kavita, I'd just like to introduce her. Kavita is a lead consultant at Atma, and she manages the accelerator program. And she also contributes to a lot of sector building initiatives, just like this one, and delivers fantastic workshops. She has over 14 years of experience and has held diverse roles in mentoring nonprofit leaders on OD and different processes. She's worked with Edelgave Foundation, Unlimited India, and various NGOs as an independent consultant. She holds a postgraduate degree in management and human resources from Mumbai. And if some of you had come in January as well, so there was a wonderful webinar she did then as well, which I would encourage you to go see. And just a request to all the audience members here that you can add your questions in the chat box. The questions that you added in the registration form have already been shared with Kavita, and she'll do her best to cover as many as possible during the session itself. But if you have more questions, do put them in the chat box. And we will have a Q&A space at the end. So just to help maintain the flow of the webinar. And of course, हम कोशिश करेंगे कि थोड़ी सी हिंदी में भी जहाँ जहाँ पॉसिबल है हम मिक्स करें. लेकिन अगर आपको हिंदी में कुछ स्पेसिफिक चीजें की अनुवाद की जरूरत है तो आप हमें बताइए और हम चैट बॉक्स में भी कर सकते हैं. एंड कविता एज मच एज पॉसिबल आप मिक्स करना. बट ऑफ कोर्स वी हैव हमारे पास सभी जगह से लोग आए हैं तो थोड़ा सा इंग्लिश मेंटेन करना बेहतर होगा. So yes, with that, handing over to Kavita.
Great. Thank you so much, Vaishali, for such a warm welcome. And I'm really happy to be here doing this webinar. First of all, thank you to everyone to take the time out to be present. I know it would have been a busy day for all of you today, but thank you so much for taking the time out. And I'll try and do full justice to this 1.5 hour session that we have, where there'll be a presentation. I will take you through all the information that's on the social stock exchange that we have currently and the different processes associated with it. Hopefully, this information will help you to make a choice and also be able to understand the SSE better and to take things forward for your organization if you would like to register and list on the SSE. So that's going to be the next 1.5 hours. I'll try to make it conversational as well. So I will try and pause in between for some of the questions that you all have. Feel free to add your questions in the chat box as well, and my colleagues here will note down those questions and we'll take them up in between the different slides that we have, right? So um, right. So with that, let's get started. I'll just share my screen. Yeah. Let me know if it's visible. Yeah, I hope my screen is visible now. Okay. Great. So before I move into the whole social stock exchange, what it is and what are the different processes associated with it, I am really very excited and happy to say that we have recently developed the SSE Guidebook and we have launched it in Feb this year. And this guidebook is like a comprehensive resource for each and every organization, any NPO who's looking to register and list on the social stock exchange. So it has all detailed information about the various stages. It has different tips from some of the NPOs and the exchanges that we have consulted with. It has step-by-step information on how do you go about doing some of the processes over here. So this is an entire one-stop solution to knowing a lot and understanding about the social stock exchange. Um, we have also collaborated with NSE and BSE. They have been a part of the whole process of us developing this guidebook. So the lot of information that we have put down here comes directly from them and has been sort of verified by them. So we have also been supported by the A.T. Chandra Foundation to develop this book. So it has been an effort which has been going on over the year, which is now finally launched, and you guys will have a copy of this book, which you all can go through in detail, of course. But today the idea is to just do a summary of all the key information and the key points that you all need to note to understand the processes for SSC. Right. I think one of the reasons or the purpose why we started building this book together was a lot of information that's available online is across different platforms, across different documents. And it's important to bring this all together in one place where you can just go through one document to get all the information and then get started with your processes. Also, a lot of this information used a lot of complex terminologies, which was difficult to break down into the simple language and meaning of what it really means. So what we have really tried to do through this guidebook is we have tried to simplify some of this information on how to register, how to list, what are the different benefits. At each stage, what are the different documents required? What are the checklists? We have provided links to all the resources that are also needed. So whether it's on the NSC portal or on the BSc website, whatever resources are needed, links to documents, all of those things have been put together in one place. And a glossary of key terminologies also, which is very important just to understand the different terms that have been used. So all of this is packed inside this one guidebook. And we just thought that this will help simplify a lot of your questions, doubts, and help you understand this better and take decisions on, whether you would like to go ahead with this or not. So that was the whole purpose of doing this. We have also spoken to a lot of NGO partners who have already been listed on NSE and BSE to get direct insights from them and practical inputs from them as to how the process was with them. And hence, we have also included some pro tips that you will see in the guidebook, which will also help you understand the practical insights from people we have spoken to throughout this. All right, so since we have like 1 hour, 15 minutes, we will be covering some of the important points, and for details, you all can refer to the book. But we will start with what does it really mean when we say a social stock exchange? What are the benefits for the nonprofit organization? So just we'll provide you with a little bit of a context on what it is. We'll take you through the different phases or stages, which is the journey for an NPO. So when I say NPO, it's a not-for-profit organization. So what are the different stages for NPO to register and list on the SSE? Third, we are going to be talking about some of the key considerations that you need to keep in mind. What do you really need to keep in mind before you feel like you're SSE ready? Fourth, we are going to take you through the checklist. I think this was one of the questions that came up during the registration forms that you guys filled up. I think a lot of people wanted to know about the eligibility as well. So just will give you a glimpse of what are those criteria looking like. We will then move into the registration process. Again, what are the different stages involved, documents involved, introduction to what is listing. One of the key distinctions we are going to make is what is registration, what is listing, uh, so what is really required at each stage. So a lot of these distinctions we'll try and make. And at the end, I think a lot of people want to know about how to report, once you're registered. So post-registration also, what are the disclosures, what kind of reporting you need to do to the SSC, right? So this is something that we are going to try and cover in the next 1 hour, 15 minutes. All right. So a lot of you would have heard the term SSE, Social Stock Exchange. It's a very, I think, well-known popular term. And the fact that you guys are over here means that there is some amount of interest, right, to understand a little bit more about the process. So one is it is definitely regulated by SEBI. It is an exclusive platform for NGOs and social enterprises only. And this is a platform to raise funds for the NGOs. There are two exchanges that it's operating under. One is NSE and one is PSE. So currently, these are the two designated exchanges by the SEBI that will help you raise funds when you register on this platform. Uh, Everything is disclosed, so it's a very transparent process. It's a very compliance-oriented process so that everything is documented while you are on the platform. And it promotes a lot of accountability and credibility for the organizations who are listed on the social stock exchange. Let's look at the benefits for the nonprofit organizations. We'll be referring to them as NPOs or NGOs. So what does it really mean for the NPOs if they want to list themselves on the SSC? One is that you get access to new funding channels. You would be raising funds already through maybe some CSR channels, individuals, HNIs, or even philanthropic foundations. But this is and it's important to diversify your source of funds. And this is one of an alternate or new funding source for an organization to raise funds, because it does open up networks to the financial markets. It also opens up access to some of those people that you might not know of or might not be aware of. So it definitely gives you access to some of these funding channels if you're listed on the stock exchange. And through that network, you're able to raise funds through a financial instrument, which I will take you through. It also really helps in building donor confidence and donor trust. Once you are listed on the social stock exchange, it also means that you have gone through a very scrutiny, with the NSE or a BSE, and which means that a lot of your compliances are in place. There is a very transparent system. You have reporting parameters. So a lot of those things will automatically happen for you through the process of registering and listing. And hence, it is a signal to a donor that this is a credible organization that is on the SSE platform. So a lot of trust, confidence gets built up for other donors to also approach you apart from the platform. So overall, it enhances that credibility image for your organization. Like I said, it improves your compliance transparency. You will be doing a lot of impact reporting. You will be also doing all audited statements. Everything will be structured, organized, and in place. And hence, through this platform, you get a chance to showcase this to all your donors. Greater visibility for the NGOs once you're listed. Like I said, it opens up networks. You also, people are able to go onto the NSE BSE website and see your name listed on it. And hence that also brings a bit more visibility. When you're raising funds, donors come to know about you. There are retail investors who will then come to know and invest into your organization. So that way, it's a platform that gives you visibility and opportunity to grow, opportunity to raise funds for a particular project or program where you might be struggling to get funds, and then build in more sustainability for your organization. So these are some of the reasons. And again, like I would just say that credibility has come across as one of the reasons which have been mentioned by most of the NGOs that we spoke with. While they got listed, I think we did ask them, what are the reasons? And they said that that credibility compliance that they, achieve with this, it's really helpful for them. Also, when we look at numbers, some of the statistics, if we look at, we have seen that the idea is to reach some of the sustainable development goals. And if you look at some of the data currently, if you look at all the developing countries, there is a financing gap that has been put down as in 4 trillion, I think. Yes, it's 4 trillion US dollars is the financing gap that has been put down currently across all the developing countries. And specifically for India, if you look at it, I think before the COVID, the numbers that were released were 2.6 trillion US dollars is the financing gap in the sector currently to meet the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, by 2030. So a lot of these numbers and the data are backing the need for some of the platform like an SSE. It was also mentioned by a finance minister in one of the union budget in 2019 about how this brings the capital market closer to the masses and to meet some of the social welfare objectives. So just wanting to give you that context as to why the SSE is becoming a popular platform and how like everybody's working towards helping meet those social objectives through this platform. All right. Let's take a quick look at the journey itself of a nonprofit organization. But before I move to this part, are there any, I'll just pause for 2 minutes if there are any quick questions that anybody has, or you all can also add to the
Yeah.
chat box. We can take them.
Yeah, there is Kavita. So Aditya is asking, he's just clarifying that the SSE adds the retail investor to my donor list in addition to HNI, CSR, and philanthropies. Is he right, or is he missing up other channels that the SSE opens up?
Yeah, I would say retail investors, HNIs, yeah, CSRs are not on the SSE right now. But it definitely opens up channels for retail investors.
Yeah. And but there's one more question. Rather, I think it's maybe a challenge that they're facing. There is no tick mark, yes or no, of Societies Registration Act of NPOs under the West Bengal Societies Registration Act. I don't know if you had more questions. Somebody from Rural Development Association, Sujoy had this question, I think.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
There is page number 20 in the guidebook. There is the yes, no, which registration of the organization. There is only 1860 is there as per Societies Registration Act. But 1960, our organization is registered under West Bengal Societies Registration Act 1961. It was not there.
1860 Society Act.
Yeah.
So 1960, yeah, if you're registered as a society after
Yes,
1860,
yes.
also
After
after
1860.
1860, yes, that is also included. Yes,
1979.
yeah, yeah. So all registrations under society are included as an NPO or registration.
Another one question is there is written that third party impact assessment report is required for the organization is spending at least 67% of the last 3 years average revenue or expenditure.
I will come to that point, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Exactly, we'll be
We'll take
explaining
it up.
that point in the upcoming slide. Yeah.
I
Okay.
think we can go on. I think that there are some more questions coming in, but I know that they will be taken up later, right? So
Yeah, we'll
yes,
definitely
Kapil, we'll do that. We'll take a pause after like say 15-20 minutes and then take in some questions. Yeah? Kavita, we can continue.
maybe after every section I can pause for questions. That would help. Yeah. All right. So looking at the journey of a nonprofit organization on the for the registration listing. So again, we'll be getting into the details of this, but just to give you a gist of overall what the stages look like. So first of all, just try and understand that what are the considerations for your organization to register? Like, what are the things that you need to keep in mind in terms of maybe the costings involved, the time commitment involved, the kind of stakeholders that you will have to engage during the entire process. So some of those things are the ones that you first consider and think about and reflect for your own organization. Also, along with that, check the eligibility criteria so that you understand that whether your organization is eligible. There are I think some of these are very standardized criteria, and we have a slide on that to take you through it. But just assess your own readiness in terms of the eligibility and the term in terms of how much time commitment can you give to the whole process of registration and listing. After that, just check in on the documents that you have. It's important to consolidate, bring all these documents together, make sure that they exist in your organization and they are verified by your accountants and all of that. Then once you have all the documents, you're eligible, you are prepared for all of these things. Then you look at creation of a login ID or your registration on the NSE or the BSE website, whichever one you would prefer. You can, consider registering on either or both. And you can create your login ID. Again, we'll take you through the registration process on both NSE and BSE, how it is and what difference it is. Once you have done that, you have to then fill in all the information. You have to download your documents, upload them, again, talk to the exchanges, address some of their queries, complete all the information that's required as per the checklist that's provided by the authority, and then submit all of that, after which you will get your registration on the SSE, which means that now you are officially registered. Your name gets listed on the NSE BSE, but it is registration. It's the first step, and then the second step is the listing step. So in order to raise funds, first of all, you need to be registered. So the first phase is that you complete your entire registration process on your BSE and NSE platform. After the registration, then you start with the second phase, which is your fundraising phase, where you will then go through these steps. And after fundraising, you will be listed on the social stock exchange. Now, in order to get listed, you have to fundraise. And in order to fundraise, you have to open up an issue. It's called an IPO, initial public offering. So you open up an issue for your organization for a particular project or a program. And you prepare a fundraising document, which is like a proposal document. There are templates again given out for these fundraising documents existing in the guidebook and online as well. So you prepare that document. So very well, you are mentioning all the outcomes and the objectives that you want to achieve through this program or project. What is the funding amount that you're looking to raise? Fill in all the compliance information, upload all the documents. All of that will happen in this second phase for your listing. You will again be in touch with the exchanges, which is either NSE, BSE, who will confirm with you all this information, ask you to submit documents and extras, things like that. Once you have done all of that, you get an in-principle approval on your fundraising document. And this in-principle approval means that you are now ready to open up an issue for your organization. This in-principle approval is valid for 6 months. So within those 6 months, you can decide what are your issue dates. All of those details go into your fundraising documents. And once you have done that, you have launched your IPO, you receive your funder subscriptions. The issue closes within 3 to 10 days. And if you have successfully raised 75% of the quoted amount in your fundraising document, you have been successfully listed on the social stock exchange. So just in a summary, this is the process. Of course, there are a lot of details involved at each and every process, which we will go through, and we'll cover some of them, but everything is in detail mentioned in the guidebook as well. I see, Anita, you have raised your hands, so maybe I'll just quickly take your question.
I had a question. Every organization that's registered can list, or is it that there is a process between registration and listing and you need another approval for listing? Because from what I'm understanding, your fundraising document is written first and then you get in principle approval. Is there an approval for going for listing?
The
Before you start the process.
So the approval needed for listing is the approval for your fundraising document. So once you are registered on the platform, you have to then get into the process of creating the fundraising document, submitting it. That will give you an approval to be able
My
to.
question is not that. My question is that an organization invests in terms of developing the fundraising document, correct? There's an investment there. So if I'm registered, I take it that I can list. And so I go ahead and write the listing document. But is there a thing that I might have registered, but somewhere down the line, they say, no, you can't you can't list yourself.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case. If your fundraising document is complete, if you have submitted all the information and documents, you would receive an in-principle approval. And that is why you will have to be constantly in touch with the exchange to understand if there is anything else which is required in terms of
I'm
information.
saying in terms of due diligence. I'm not speaking in terms of what the document contains. I'm saying from the registration to the starting point of listing, is there a due diligence in between these 2 points?
No, there's no such due
No
diligence.
due diligence in between these 2 points. Once you're registered, it means that everyone can.
Yeah. Once you're registered, it
listing,
means you can list. Yeah.
you can do a listing. And so I don't have a point where I said, no, who asked you to do a listing document? You should have come back to a fundraising document. You should have come back to got a principal acceptance. Because there is a whole lot of investment, because a fundraising document is the highest energy spent.
Right. So you should still get in touch with the exchange on which you are registered and let them know that you are planning to list on that exchange, you are planning to create the fundraising document FRD. So I would say that be in touch with them, because the whole process is very collaborative with the exchange. But there is no need of any formal approval before you start working on a FRD document. But keep the exchange authorities informed that this is what you're looking to raise and for which you will be getting into the listing process. That is what would be.
I got my answer.
Yeah. Okay. So this is at a gist. We are looking at just understanding that first phase is the registration phase, where you do apply online, fill in all your documents, get registered. And then the second phase is your listing phase, where you raise funds, where you prepare the documents again, do all the compliances required. Then your initial public offering, your IPO, gets public, and then you list on the exchange, right? So, right, I'll just get into, so we are going to go through the registration listing process again in depth in the coming slides. So that's why I'm just sticking to summary, because I know this can be a little confusing sometimes to, just wrap your mind around, how these things work, right? So for you to understand right now that these are two distinct stages, registration, listing, and one follows after the other, and some of the steps which are necessary in order to do that. Looking at some of the key considerations, like I was mentioning earlier also, like what are the key points that you need to keep in mind before you decide to even register on SSE? So for you to be ready for that, first of all, look at the eligibility criteria. Again, we'll go through that, plus you have the link. Just check if your organization is meeting that. Second, check if all your compliance documents are in place in the organization. The third point, the board approval is important. So it's important for you to start having conversations with your board members earlier on. So if you're interested in registering, have a discussion with your board members on whether this fits well with your organization needs, objectives, with where do you want to raise funds for, all of that. And it's important to then get the approval from the board formally, so that because you will be needing the approvals in the upcoming processes. So it's good to have these discussions beforehand with the board while you are thinking about being ready for this. Maintain a strong monitoring and evaluation system within your organization, where you're capturing some of your outcome level data, your impact data. All of those are important requisites while you are submitting documents, while you're reporting back to the authorities. So it's important to have that impact data in place to make sure that you're collecting some of this data and maintaining it for your organization. Fifth is you have to ensure that the CEO or a senior leadership team members are involved and engaged in this entire process. Again, a lot of these documents require them to come in, and it is a leadership decision. So it's important that they are engaged and involved throughout the stages. While what will happen is there will be either a finance person from your end or a compliance officer from your organization who will be the spokesperson with the exchange authority. So all the document collation, all of that work can be handled by your finance and compliance team member. But at the same time, this should be done with your CEO and the leadership team, so that everybody is aligned on the process and on the steps that are required. Also, another important thing to note is that the minimum fundraising ask. So now when you actually move into the listing phase, where you are sharing a fundraising document, you have to mention that what is that amount of funds that you would like to raise through this platform. And the minimum fundraising amount mentioned on SSE as per SEBI rules is 50 lakhs. And this amount has to be for a particular project or a program. This cannot be just for an entire organization. So while you're raising funds on SSE, please note that these funds are being raised for a very specific project that you want to implement, for which you are asking for funds, or it is a program that you are implementing. And it has like a duration itself. So you have to mention that this is the project you want to start, say for a 2-year period, would require X amount of money, and that's why you want to raise funds from SSE. And that project value should be minimum 50 lakhs. And you should be able to raise at least 75% of that amount. So whatever amount you're mentioning in your fundraising document, say you're saying 100 lakhs, 1 CR, then you should be able to raise at least 75 lakhs from your issue when it opens to be able to successfully list on the SSE. So these are just some of those criterias and important points to note. Apart from that, when it comes to stakeholders, like I said, your CEO leadership needs to be involved, your compliance officer, who could also be your finance officer, your auditors, company secretary, if you have all of these stakeholders, you will have to engage them through the course of the listing on the SSE. So it's just good to make a note of this and also have discussions and conversations with your statutory auditor before you start the whole registration process, because they will have to come in and support you as well. Set aside some time for document preparation. So like I think Anita was mentioning, it is a huge investment in terms of the times and effort that you're going to take to submit all the documents, to put it all together. But having said that, it's not so complicated also that you won't be able to do it. It is just requires the dedicated resource time for one of your team members with some amount of time commitment to ensure that you have everything in place when you go to register. And in terms of costings, I think these questions have also come up a lot. And some of these things, there are new circulars which keep coming. So the updated information you will be able to see online on the NSE or the SEBI website. But as of now, the registration fees for this is 5,000 plus your 18% GST for registering on the SSE. For listing, currently there are no separate fees involved either on NSE or BSE. But you should keep in mind a lot of other costs which might be involved, like if you're paying your auditors for auditing your accounts and for giving time to collate all the documents together. If you are also hiring a company secretary to ensure that you are compliant with all the law regulations that are applicable to your organization, then having a consultancy with your company secretary might also cost you some amount depending on who your CS person is. Social audit fees can be charged by your social auditor to do an impact report assessing for your organization. You have to set up a public bank account, which is called as an escrow account for listing. So there would be bank charges associated with that. And if you're hiring any consultants to help you with the whole setup of the issue and to write the fundraising document, all of those things, there are organizations who have hired consultants, and hence that could also be an additional cost for you. So you have to be mindful of all of these costs involved, whereas the registration cost is only 5,000. Right, so this is on the readiness. I think again, I'll pause here for like 2-3
So,
minutes.
Kavita, I think just one thing is there's one clarification that is needed for the 75% to be raised, right? Will that be from the SSE? Like maybe some clarification on that would help.
Yeah, the 75% that you're raising has to be from the SSE platform. So when your issue is opened, say you're raising money for 1 CR, then 75 lakhs you have to raise through the SSE platform. You can raise 25 lakhs or the 25% through other sources, that's okay. But at least 75% you have to raise through SSE. So far, whatever issues we have seen, I think mostly 100% have raised through the SSE platform itself. So yeah, that's just information, but the rules.
In case it's not met, is there anything regarding that?
Yeah.
What
So
happens if the fundraising target is not met?
yeah. So if you're not able to raise 75%, you will not be able to successfully list your organization. Whatever amount that comes in will be refunded back to the investors if any amount has come through. But if you are not able to raise that much, you don't get listed, and you can reapply again for another IPO listing.
Great. Yeah. There are more questions, but we can take them up a little later.
Sure.
And thankfully, Vernon is also helping us answer some questions. So please do keep the questions coming in the chat box. Yeah. Kavita, please continue.
Yeah. All right. Let's look at the eligibility criteria again at a glance. So this will give you a good understanding of what are the key things that you need to look out for. So one, your organization, we are talking about NPO registration over here. Again, let me emphasize on that. There are social enterprises for-profit models as well, but the entire guidebook and whatever we are covering today is applicable for an NPO. And hence it will be either a public trust or a society or a Section 8 company. So if you're registered as either of these three entities, you fall under NPO, because you're not for profit model, and you can use this route to register yourself. Secondly, you need to have your registration certificate, which is valid for the next 12 months from the date on which you are applying for registration. So say you apply for registration tomorrow, then for the next 12 months, your registration certificate is valid. Your organization has a 12A, 12AA, or now also 1046. So these are, some of the sections that apply to the registration of your organization, but you need to have this registration as well, which you normally get along with your registration. Again, this has to be valid for the next 12 months. You also need to have a valid ATG registration, valid for the next 12 months, and a valid income tax PAN number that you're registered with your income tax. Right, so these are the bare minimal, I think, compliance requirements. Now, one of the questions that was raised, and it's important to just decode and understand what does this really mean. So when one of the criteria you will look up online and in the guidebook, it's very clearly mentioned that you would need to spend at least 67% of your average revenues or expenditures over the last 3 financial years to deliver eligible activities to the target population. So let's understand these two terms, which are important. One is eligible activities and second is the target population. Now, eligible activities are a list of 17 activities which have been prescribed and put down by the SEBI itself. These are more or less aligned to the SDGs. And hence, whatever work you're doing, whatever social objectives you're working towards should fall under one of those 17 categories. Again, there's a link provided over here. So if anybody wants to open up the list, you all can open that up. I think in the interest of time, I thought I'll show it to you guys, but I think in the interest of time, let's not do that right now. But you will be clearly able to see the list of 17 activities. Just check if your organization work falls within that. These are mostly the social welfare objectives that we are talking about. So if you are an NPO, based on your registration, based on your incorporation, your activity should fall under that social objective. Secondly, the target population that they are talking about here. Now, this target population are the beneficiaries that you're serving. So the profile of your beneficiaries has to be either from an underserved segment or a less privileged segment, where historically you have seen a lower development progress in the region where they are situated, and also they are part of the government priorities when it comes to the SDGs. So basically, if your beneficiary profile is from an underserved community or a marginalized community, it should fall under this target group. Now you have to look at your last 3 financial years, whatever revenues or expenditures you have incurred. If you have received revenues, or look at your budget expenditure over the last 3 years, say 67% of that you have utilized to deliver one of these 17 activities, which is your social welfare objective for the target population, which is your beneficiary falling under this less privileged income group, right? So you have to look at these 2 things. Or there is one more provision they have made over here, that whatever beneficiaries you're serving, say 100 beneficiaries you're serving, 67% of that, like 67 of those are part of the target population who are receiving the eligible activities in that same period, right? In the last 3 years. Right, so this is how you can simplify it, and just focusing on these 2 terms. If you fall within that, check your last 3 years, 67% of your expenditure has to fall under that, and also check if your beneficiaries are falling under that. Either or situation, you will qualify for it. Next, you look at if you have spent at least 50 lakhs in your last financial year on your program or organizational activities, and you have received funding of at least 10 lakhs in the last financial year through grants and donations. So again, very simple, but again, do your calculations and make sure that you have been able to fulfill these numbers. The next part is on the organization being functional for at least 3 years from the registration date. So it means that your age is 3 years from your date of registration. You have completed 3 years from your registration, so that, and you have audited financial statements of the last 3 years. Along with that, you have also filed income tax returns for the last 3 financial years if it applies to your organization. So these are the 3, again, criteria. So anybody is less than 3 years at this point will not be eligible. Organization has governance documents, your MOA, AOA, bylaws, trust deed, all of that is existing with you, which you would have along with your registration certificate, and a resolution from the governing board. So while the last 2 points are not mentioned in the criteria, they would ask you for these documents when you're applying for it, to give you the board resolution, annual report for your last 3 years, and will be good to have the impact assessment report, like I said, where you have your impact data put in. Any questions on the eligibility criteria?
So, Kavita, there is one question on this impact assessment bit, right? So I'll just read it out 1 second. This had come in a little earlier itself, that the third party impact assessment, it's generally done as per requirement of funders, but not done for overall projects. So how should they go forward?
Okay, so yeah, this has also been one of the questions which keep coming up, and we have also tried to clarify this with both NSE, BSE. So what we have understood is once you are registered or listed on the SSE, there are certain reporting mechanisms, right? There's certain reporting that you will be doing at the end of every financial year. Now, as part of this reporting, one of the requirements is an third-party impact assessment report. Which means that you are hiring a social auditor to come in for that particular project for which you have raised funds on the SSE. And for that project, the social auditor will give you a report assessing that, looking at your outcome that you wanted to achieve, what has been the progress against that. And that report is something which you can submit to the NSE BSE at the end of the financial year when you're doing your reporting. At the time of registration, a third party is not mandatory. It is good to have, but it is not mandatory at the time of registration. That is what clarification I've received from the exchanges. So it means that you will still have to submit an impact report, but this is something which you can put together internally, submit it at the time of registration, but you will have to invest into a third-party impact report by the end of the year after your registration. So that's what, we had clarified with them. So as of now, this is what the rule is. Again, some of these things are subjected to change. So I just wanted to bring that up. There are new circulars that keep coming from SEBI, and we'll keep you posted on that on our LinkedIn and website. But so far, this is what it is. Yeah.
Great. I think there's also one more thing. Is there a minimum budget that it can be applied for?
To apply for?
In a sense, so it's written in context, and if you can answer this in Hindi as well, that if somebody is writing a project proposal for 3 years, there are 2 questions actually. One is regarding what about multi-year projects? Can you list them? And the other one is how much budget can one apply for? Is there a minimum issue size? I think that is.
Okay, I'll try and answer in Hindi if that's the recommend. So minimum issue size is 50 lakhs. तो जो आपका प्रपोजल होगा, जो फंड रेजिंग डॉक्यूमेंट में आप रेज करने के लिए जो अमाउंट लिखना चाहते हैं, वो एटलीस्ट 50 lakhs होना चाहिए, वो प्रोजेक्ट और प्रोग्राम के लिए. उससे ऊपर भी हो सकता है, लोगों ने 1 CR 2 CR तक भी रेज किया है, सो उससे ऊपर भी हो सकता है, लेकिन मिनिमम रिक्वायरमेंट जो है वो 50 lakhs का है. और मल्टी ईयर प्रोजेक्ट हो सकता है, तो आप जो आपका फंड रेजिंग डॉक्यूमेंट है, जो प्रपोजल है, उसमें आपको मेंशन करना है कि ये प्रोजेक्ट का ड्यूरेशन कितना है. तो आपका प्रोजेक्ट 1 साल का हो सकता है, 2 साल का हो सकता है, या 3 साल का हो सकता है. लेकिन जो ध्यान में रखना है कि अगर आप SSE थ्रू फंड्स रेज कर रहे हैं और 3 साल का ड्यूरेशन है प्रोजेक्ट का, तो वो 3 साल में वो प्रोजेक्ट खत्म हो जाना चाहिए, बिकॉज आपका जो लिस्टिंग का वैलिडिटी है, इट्स बेस्ड ऑन द वैलिडिटी ऑफ योर प्रोजेक्ट ड्यूरेशन. तो 3 साल का प्रोजेक्ट है, तो 3 साल का ही वो आपका एप्लीकेबल होगा.
I think, Harita, I hope your question also got answered, that you
No,
can
my
apply for
question did
multi-year.
not get answered. My
No,
question is
for the
other-
I know you had many questions, only about the multi-year one I'm asking.
My question
So-
is on the escrow account.
We'll
Yes.
come. Okay.
Yeah.
Anita, I'm
Okay.
talking to Harita. So just
Okay.
1 minute. Yeah. Okay, great. And also, there's also one more on are there any listed approved third parties for the impact assessment that you mentioned, right? Is there a list like that? Is there an approved list of third parties who can do the assessments?
Social auditors, you'll have to, they are who are certified by the accounting institutes. I'll send you the link where you can check online, but these are basically, it could be an independent social auditor, or it could be social auditors that work within accountancy institutes, and they just need that certification. So that information is available, which we'll pass on to you. So you can then look out for them. So we don't have a ready-made list, but you can go online and search for it. I'll give you the requirements of a social auditor, because this has been defined by SEBI who a social auditor is.
There's one more question by Saisha regarding eligibility. At least 85% of the trust income must be applied towards charitable purposes. So how does the 67% vary from the income tax requirement? Income tax requirement, do you mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I think 85% of your trust income, that is your trust registration deed says that, right? And this is specifically for the this project or program that you're applying for, right? So over the last whatever eligible activities you're doing, 67% is the requirement for SSE. So if yours is 85%, then yeah, it falls within that.
Great. I think we can move on. And Anita, if I can request you to write your question in, and then where the relevant section is, we can take it up.
Yeah, I think Anita's question on the escrow will come in the listing section. So
Exactly, which is why. So do share your question in, Anita, and we'll take it up when it comes up, or maybe it'll get answered in Kavita's presentation itself.
Right.
But we can continue.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I understand this could be a lot of information again to process at the first go if somebody's looking at this for the first time. So we'll be sharing the presentation to go through it, because this is more like a summary. The details are in the guidebook. Again, if there are questions, you can reach out to us. But there are going to be some of these nuances where there will be doubts and questions, right? So yeah.
Kavita ji, can I disturb you for a second?
Yes.
Yeah, see, I am Jayant Kumar. I am actually representing Swashodhan Trust. In case if we require any kind of a consultancy kind of a services from your end, as an organization, can you provide, or is something that you cannot do that? If at all, if you can do that for a fee or something, can you actually let me know?
We'll let you know. Yeah, we have noted this, your requirement, but let's connect offline to let
That's
you.
okay. That's okay. But see, I was of the view that probably my questions you must have thought is not very relevant, so we must not have
No,
raised.
we've
So
noted everything. Don't worry. I'm noting everything. So yeah, and we'll ensure everything is answered. Don't worry.
Yeah.
thank you.
Whatever
Thank
is
you.
not answered, we'll take up at the end of the presentation for sure. Because
Uh,
what I'm also realizing is, I think some of the questions that are coming up will get covered during the next part of
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
Thank
presentation.
you.
But we'll take it up at the end.
We can continue.
All right, now let's a little bit go in depth into the registration process as well. But again, like I said, this is just to give you an overall summary. And I've bifurcated this for NSE and BSE, since there would be few changes between the way the processes are mentioned for both the exchanges. So for NSE, you have to start off, like I said, now first we looked at all the key considerations. So one is you are eligible to apply. Second is you have consulted all the stakeholders, your board members, internal, external consultants, everybody, to just look at the kind of compliance requirements are there, what are the documents that are required. And you have also, say, invested in time, resources from your team to work on this. So once you are ready with all of these things, then the next step for you would be to then go online onto the NSE or the BSE portal and then create your login ID or register on it. So on NSE, there is a login ID which can be created. We have given the link to this portal. This is a separate link than the website, and this link is given in the guidebook. So there you just have to enter your details and your login password ID gets generated. On BSE, what will happen is there is a register your interest button on the website that you fill in your basic information, and again your ID password gets generated. So just different links we will give you if you want to follow. The second step would be, now there is a checklist which is available in the guidebook and on the website of NSE and BSE. Depending on wherever you're registering, you just have to download that checklist. You have to look at all the documents, fill in those documents, keep all the documents together, compile them, fill in them, and then upload them onto the NSE and BSE portal, right? So the second step is bringing all your documentation together. Third step is to fill in the application form and to upload all your documents on the NSE portal and similarly on the BSE portal onto their link. And once you have uploaded, filled out all the application details, everything, the next step is that you will be hearing back from NSE and BSE on some of the documents that you have submitted or some of the information. If they feel like there is anything incomplete in terms of document, if they require more documents, and they will ask you for it, and you can submit those pending documents again. So it's not like after you have applied, you cannot submit documents again. This is going to be a little bit of a iterative process where there will be some amount of back and forth between you and the exchanges. It's really important that you communicate with the exchange authorities throughout this process, have that dialogue with them as to what is required. They will be also talking to you and getting back to you if they find anything incomplete in your application. And once you provide all that information, all that documents, then your registration gets accepted. With NSE, the one step is that you have to submit the registration agreement. This will be on a stamp paper, and then you make the online payment. So you will receive a confirmation of NSE that all your documents are in place, all the information is there. Now you can go ahead and submit the registration agreement. So once you get that confirmation, it will be more through your conversations, emails, phone calls with them. Once that happens, then you go ahead and submit your registration, make the online payment, and you will receive a confirmation email from the NSE. Your name gets displayed on the NSE website as a registered organization, not as a listed organization. With BSE, the process is almost same. Once they confirm with you that all the documents are in place, you can then go ahead and submit them online and make the payment, and then they will issue a registration agreement or a letter from BSE. It will come to you on your email. So that means that that is your confirmation that you're now registered with BSE, and again, your name gets displayed on their website. So overall, this is what the process is. And these are just few distinctive steps. Otherwise, overall, this is as per the SEBI. This is how you can register, complete your registration process on the portal. Yeah. Any
a quick question on registration. Is the fees a one-time cost?
Fees are one-time cost when you register. When you have to renew your registration, you will have to make the fees payment again. So this registration, so let me mention this one important point also. Your registration is going to be valid for 1 year with SSE unless you raise funds in that 1 year time period. If you're not able to raise funds within that 1 year time period, then after the end of the financial year or after the end of your one registration year, you have to reapply. It is just like a renewal process. So it's not, yeah, I think you have to resubmit some of the documents and go through this process with the exchanges will guide you on it. But you will have to apply for renewal if you are not able to raise funds within 1 year of your registration.
Yeah, love. It's not the 10 days with period that they are given to raise funding. You can take it to a longer extent because there's a window of days wherein you can raise funds.
Right. So that window of days is how long your IPO is going to be open, right?
Yeah.
So when you want to list your IPO, time period is always going to be 3 to 10 days, not beyond 10 days. But the idea is that before you even start, opening your IPO, you should be talking to funders and you should line them up in such a way that they know that your IPO is coming. So a lot of your awareness, visibility, your outreach to the donors themselves should start way in advance. So that by the time you know that your IPO is coming, then you're just informing your funders that the IPO is coming. It's going to be open for a period up to 10 days, and they can then subscribe online to you, right? So that is the duration is fixed. You can't go beyond 10 days, but what we tell people is to start the process earlier on of talking to funders.
You can continue, Kavita.
Yeah, just want to mention as of date, there are a lot of organizations already registered with both NSE and BSE. There are 81 organizations registered with NSE. There are 61 organizations registered with BSE. So total we have 140 plus organizations already registered on the SSE portal. Moving to the listing phase. First, let's understand some of the key terms, so some of you who are already aware of the process might have heard these terms and might know what they mean. But maybe for those of you who are for the first time trying to understand the whole listing process, it's important to understand some of these terms. So like every stock exchange has a certain financial instrument through which you're raising funds, right? So when you look at your normal stock exchange, there is equity, debt, there is mutual fund, shares, right? So those are your financial instruments. Here, for the social stock exchange, the one instrument which is currently functional and institutionalized is called as the zero coupon, zero principal, ZC, ZP instruments. This is the one that's currently functional. There were two more instruments that are technically specified by the SEBI, but we don't want to go into that right now because this is the one which you will be applying for, as this is the one which is most functional. So ZC, ZP means that there is no interest or dividend or repayment of the principal amount involved. Think of this as a donation and a grant to your organization. So any funder investor who's subscribing to you through this ZC, ZP instrument is 100% donation. Nothing goes back to the investor. There's no profit, nothing. No interest or dividend is received either by the investor or the organization. So none of those things are involved. This is a donation or a grant. ZC, ZP bonds get issued during the whole listing process so that you are able to list on it. But this is the instrument through which you will be applying for it. Now, like I said, these bonds are exclusive to the social stock exchange. You're raising capital funds through it. You have to, in order to raise funds, you have to develop your fundraising document, submit that, which is again for a specific program or a project. It has to meet the fundraising document for whichever program you're seeking funds has to be fall within that 17 categories, eligible activities that we spoke about. The project has to be completed within the duration defined in the FRD. So when you're raising funds, you say that I want to raise funds for this particular project, which is going to be for a duration of 2 years. So then you make sure that your project gets completed within those 2 years mentioned in the document. The minimum fund issue size 50 lakhs, like we spoke, and the minimum investment amount is 10,000. And hence, we are seeing this open up to a lot of more retail investors because 10,000 is the minimum amount that any funder or an investor can invest and support you or, give you funds for. So that's why a lot of this, I think this amount opens up a lot of avenues for retail investors to come in and support your organization and your cause. Along with, of course, there could be HNIs and there could be other companies who would want to invest. The other metric over here is the 75% of the proposed funds in your document have to be raised. Otherwise, whatever you have collected will be refunded back. If you subscribe beyond 100%, if there is oversubscription of your issue, that can also happen. It still comes down to 100% and the oversubscription will again be refunded back to the investors. Suppose you are able to raise 75% through the SSE, you should also provide a plan in your FRD document about the balance 25% funds. Where are you planning to raise them from? So it could be from your own networks, it could be from the HNIs that you know of, or what is the strategy or the plan for you to raise the balance 25% so that the project can get implemented for you. And the last point, like I said, the termination of the ZCZP will be when your project gets terminated. So as per the duration mentioned, that is how long the ZCZP bonds are going to be valid over here. Or if you achieve your outcomes before that project duration, then also they can end. So either or, but generally it is for the project duration. There is another link over here on guidelines on the fundraising document by NSE. There is one link by BSE as well in the guidebook. So the fundraising document is a very extensive document. It will come to at least 100 plus pages based on the FRDs that we have seen for the already listed organizations. So definitely it is a very comprehensive document, includes a lot of information. The template of this document is provided in the guidebook again. Examples of organizations who are listed, their sample FRD documents are also the ones that we had referred to are provided in the guidebook. You can also check out FRD documents of other organizations on the NSE or BSE website. They are all available publicly on the website. And yeah, based on that, you can then prepare the FID document for your own organization. But essentially, if you look at it, it will contain a lot of your program information. It will contain a lot about your outcomes and impact information. It will be technical information about your issue size itself. It will talk about your governance structures. It will also talk about the risk that you are going to face and how are you going to overcome some of those risks. Right? So a lot of this kind of information will go into the FID document. If there is time at the end of the presentation, I can take you through it. Otherwise, y'all can open the link and check it out and have a look at it. The next part is on the listing process. But before that, if anybody has questions on any of these terms or criterias, then y'all can just quickly let me know before we move to the listing process itself.
I think there are some questions, but of course, we're trying our best to answer it in the chat box itself as well. And some questions seem like they should be answered towards the end, so we can continue. Yeah, I think we can continue.
Okay. Yeah, just to give you more insights into what all really the listing will involve, because this is the main part of raising funds on the SSE. So one, you have registered your organization on the SSE, but now in order to list, there are a lot of steps involved. And as in when you actually do the whole process yourself with the exchanges, you will get a lot more insight because there will be support and guidance provided by the exchanges to help you through this process. So just keep in mind that always reach out to them if you have any doubts. They will clarify it for you and they will ask you to submit the right documents. And you have enough information available to be able to prepare some of these documents yourself. But just to understand that what all it really takes to list and what all is involved, just we have put down this chart. So again, like the first step is getting a valid registration. Some of these points you will know that, when you need to, and this is true for any stock exchange, right? You need to have a demat account. So you'll have to open that demat account because all transactions are happening online. You will have to appoint a registrar who manages your entire IPO process. When you're listing on the stock exchange, your registrars, there are 2-3 of them already. The names are there online. So you can look up those names, select any one of the registrars. You will also find the names of these registrars on the FID documents of the organizations already listed. So you can check with those NPOs as to which registrar they went ahead, but you can just select anyone based on your preference, really, and then open your demat account. There's an agreement that happens between the 3 parties, which again, whether it's the NPO registrar and the DP, and this again, the exchanges will also be part of this conversation. Then you prepare your draft FID document. So the first FID document that you prepare is always called as a draft FID document. Then you file this document with the SSE, filing in the sense that you will be sharing it with them. Once the draft FID is shared with the exchange, it is then put up on the website of that particular exchange, whether it's NSE or BSE, for public comment. So anybody can go through the FID and they can share comments on it and let you know if they have any questions, clarifications that are required on this document. The exchange, which is the SSE themselves, will be providing comments to you within 30 days on the FID document, because again, sometimes if they need additional information or any documents which they feel are currently missing in the FID document, then they will let you know and you will have to add those details and information. You'll have to create just an addendum to the FID document and submit both your draft FID and the revised FID. In case you have to make any changes, revise the document, then both these documents together you submit, right, to the exchange. And again, they will guide you through the process. So let's not get too much caught up in the details of this, just to let you know the different stages, but you will be supported by the exchange through this as well. Once you have filed the revised FID, then the SSE will provide you with the finalization and the in-principle approval. So then they will say that, okay, now this approval means that you can now open your IPO. So once the FID document receives that in-principle approval, which is valid for a period of 6 months, within that 6 months, you have to open your IPO. And once your IPO is open, your funds have been raised, you are filing the final FID document. Along with that, before opening your IPO, you're also looking at the opening of your escrow account, which is a public account with the bank, where all the funds that you will receive from the investors it will not first directly go into your bank account. It first always goes into this escrow bank account, which is managed by the depositories registrars. And once it goes into that account, after the whole process is over, it will fall into your account. So that's what we are describing in this chart. So you open that public account, you open the issue. The application forms are usually available on the exchange website, and you can make it available on your office. The investors will subscribe to you by filling in the application form. They will submit it to the registrar, and the application amount is also given by the investor at that point in time. The amount can be transferred through RTGS, NEFT, so an online payment transfer completely works right now. They're also in the process of trying UPI payment, but it's not yet finalized. Then all of this happens. Then once your issue is closed and you have been able to whatever verification is done by your registrar, they will let you know on how much funds you have been able to raise. If it comes to your 75% criteria, then you get allotted. If it's not, then whatever amount has come in gets refunded. And the listing agreement is then signed with NSE or BSE once you have successfully raised that 75% and the amount comes into your account. All of this process will take some back and forth, and it will take some time. So you'll have to just keep that into account. And then once you have successfully done all of this, your name appears as a listed organization on the exchange website. Okay, so this is as detailed as we could go based on all the information we have.
I think there's just one question on who the DPs are.
Oh, these are your depository, NSDL, CDSL. So once you open your demat account, sorry, this term is just a finance term, but it's your depository, basically. That's your whoever's managing your demat account. Okay, so don't worry about all these terms. This all will be taken care of, but just the process is like this, till you raise funds. These are the different steps involved. Okay. I think I'll take 5 more minutes to finish this presentation so that we have good 15 minutes to take up questions. Say once you're registered or you're listed, you still have to put down disclosures at the end of every financial year, and you also have to submit something called as an AIR, which is an annual impact report. So for any organization who's registered has to submit all of these things. So whether you have listed or not listed, but if you're still a registered entity without even having raised funds, you still have to provide these disclosures at the end of the financial year and submit your AIR. Again, don't want to get into a lot of details of this. Everything is more or less self-explanatory. In the guidebook, everything is detailed out, explained well. All of this is again coming from a SEBI circular, which you all can refer to online as well. But just to give you a gist of what disclosures really mean. So there are first of all, in disclosures, there are 3 kinds: general, governance, finance. General means that you are disclosing information about your organization, mission, vision, values, activities, products, services that you're offering to your beneficiary or your target segment, the different locations where you're working, your operations, where they are, what is your outreach data, how many beneficiaries you have reached out to across all locations, your top 5 program with your key budget metrics, your top 5 donors and their details, your scale of operations, right? Your staff size, your budget size, all of that. Governance talks about your, either it's a trust, board of directors, whoever is your part of your trust, what are their roles and responsibilities, what is your structure looking like, what are the potential risks, all of that. Finance disclosures will be all your income statements, balance sheets, cash flow, budget, breakup of expenditures, audit reports, all of those documents. And when we talk about annual impact report, so this is again something which you will be submitting. This is a very standardized format in which you are submitting. I think the whole point of the reporting on social stock exchange, that they have a standardized framework for everyone. So any donor, any funder can just go through this reporting to understand what your organization is achieving, whether everything is in place or not. So the platform itself encourages a very transparent, robust way of reporting back to the investors, funders, rather than having to report in individual formats to different donors like you might be doing currently. So don't want to again get into the details of this. I'll just pause here. This is your annual impact report where you're talking about your outcomes, your challenges, your strategies, target segments, implementation plan, all of these things basically. Okay. And just wanted to show you guys a slide on the different resources that we have put together both for NSE BSE. So based on your preference, you can go through all the links from here as well as the same links available on the guidebook so that it will direct you online to the relevant platform information where you can download some of these documents and apply. Okay, so that's it from a presentation perspective, but I'll keep the floor open for any questions, clarifications, because I know this requires more of dialogue and not just, so just stop my screen.
Yeah, Kavita, I'm just going to put out the question that came in much earlier. Of course, I think starting with Vikram's very valid question, which is on, what's the benefit of for the donors who are going to give it through the SSE, right? What attracts them? And along with that, he also had another question is that if we're asking funders to invest in our projects through SSE and not direct funding, right? Like, why direct them through SSE if we are able to get them in, right? So Vernon has already answered it in a way that if you are able to, if you're confident, then you shouldn't list on SSE. But yeah, if you had any more thoughts on that and what is in there for the donors.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think again, very common question that I get asked a lot of times. I think the same thing why a donor, like it's for the social welfare objective itself. Supporting a cause on social stock exchange also brings some amount of recognition, visibility to the donors, and also, but this is something which they were say anyway. A lot of these investors want to, support social causes, but directly they are not able to reach out to some of the NGOs. They don't know who are the ones that can be trusted. The ones which are most compliant, or the reporting can be transparent, things like that. So for donor, I see a huge advantage here because the fact that they are going through an SSE platform assures them of the fact that these are compliant organizations. They have gone through a lot of scrutiny by the exchanges. They are going to report in a certain manner year on year. And they see that it's for a specific project. So they will be also able to see the outcomes of that project being achieved in that specified duration. So I see a lot of pluses for donors to know that this is the platform that they can trust, and hence, and they may not have direct access to the NGOs, and hence, via this network, they get access to it, and hence they come in and support some of the social causes. On the other hand, for the NGOs, what happens is, if you have your own networks, great. And if you feel like listing on the SSE gives you more credibility for your organization, then you divert your funders through the SSE platform because you want to be registered. You want to be known as somebody who is compliant and who is, there on the platform. Also, I would say sometimes if you don't have complete 100% funding for a program or a project, and you feel like you need a more diversified source because a lot of this investors might be coming from financial markets, which again, you may not have access to. So a lot of these retail investors might be coming through the networks of NSE, BSE, of people who are actually promoting the whole SSE. So there are a lot of those people involved, and it opens up doors to their network because if you are listed or registered online, it brings that visibility and people will know about you. And because right now it's in an initial phase, this has only started from 2019 onwards. So there are fewer organizations that are registered and listed, and hence the visibility is higher. So which means that you do get access to some of those networks. So it is completely your call and the call of you and the board members and the leadership team, where you feel like if this feels like a platform for you, where you want that credibility or want that access to other networks beyond yours, go with it. If not, if you feel like you have your own networks to raise funds, you can go ahead with that as well. But we just wanted to put all the information for you. So in case if you're interested, you can consider it. 75% cap. Yes, I think the idea is just not to be 100% dependent. I mean, this is something which was put in by SEBI. So honestly, I'm not the right person to answer this question, but it's mostly so that it's not 100% dependent. So you also have your own networks that you are trying to bring in to, support your own project and cause. But having said that, like a lot of times you do get 100% support from SSE as well. It's not necessarily only 75% comes through. You could get 80, 85 also. So the higher, the better. But the cap is, sorry, is just there as part of the rules. Yeah.
Madam, just would like to understand if a donor has given any donation, let's say for a private trust and public trust, the taxation, the tax benefits are different. For a private trust, they are allowing 50%. That means, let's say if somebody has donated 5 lakhs, they are trying to consider it as for 2.5 lakhs. But whereas if somebody has given for a public trust or government trust, they are actually trying to consider the whole of the amount. Why this discrimination? That is in the first place. Second thing, in other countries, if the tax benefit is given, let's say what they are actually trying to take 125%, 150%, and in certain cases 200%. And in India also, there have been a lot of, I might say, requests to the government that they should actually consider. This could be something like a visionary kind of a stuff. But at this point of time, do you have any thoughts to share?
Yeah, I think they are trying to work out on this tax aspect, but as of now, this is the current numbers. What you're saying is, I don't have any thoughts to share as to why there is this distinction between a public and a private trust, and also especially the donors getting a ATG tax benefit while while donating to the SSE. So yeah, I think this is still. What I can say is they are thinking through these tax implications. But as of now, SEBI has not put down any circular on it. So this is the current situation. I also wanted to just, I think one of the news that I got from NSE today is that they have successfully listed one organization very recently, and they have actually raised 18 CR through the SSE platform. So I wanted to also give you I think a glance through some of these numbers, which is, I think, big news for the SSE because this has been one of the highest IPO that has opened up of 18 CR, and the fact that it's fully subscribed and they have been able to raise the entire amount through SSE. It's a huge achievement for SSE. Currently, if you look at just NSE, there are 12 NGOs who are already listed. So while I said there are 81 registered, out of those 81, 12 are already listed on the NSE platform. They have totally, across the 12 NGOs, they have raised 41 CR. With BSC, if you see, there are 2 NGOs that are listed. There are 61 that are registered. They have raised around 3.3 CR. So cumulatively on the SSE, if you look at it, 44 CR is what has been raised as of date. Yeah, I think Vaishali has put in the numbers as well.
Yeah, I just put it in. I'm just checking if there are any questions from the previous thing that are unanswered. I think there's one. Just a minute. Harita had asked, can the fundraising proposal include the consultant, escrow, and fundraising document writing cost, etc., in the target itself? I think Varun had said that it can be recovered, but you can clarify that.
You can, in your budget of, say you're raising for 1 CR, in that budget, there is a certain, like normally how you prepare budgets, there would be a certain admin cost, people cost involved. And within that, you can include your cost for consultants and all of that. As long as it fits within your budget, you can include it. There are ways of recovering also, yes, but it's not yet very clear, right? Like I think NABARD has some funds for that, but I don't want to talk about it since we are not clear on that. But you can include it as part of your program budget as much as you can.
Great. I think we've
Any other
successfully
questions?
covered all the questions that came through the chat box. Priyanka, if you want to mention, I think what you were asking is, there was one question, if 75% of amount is raised as per target, how do we raise funds? I think, Kavita, you already answered that. That one is that you have to start lining up and then all those other things that are there. जी विष्णु जी का क्वेश्चन है कि प्रपोजल राइटिंग में सपोर्ट मिल सकता है क्या? I think that's a question that as Atma we need to discuss internally first.
We will just offline get back, those who have
Yeah.
asked for this. I think
Jayant sir and Vishnu ji, we will definitely get back. We've
We'll
noted
get
that.
Anita, your questions are answered, right?
Right.
I think you had some
Yeah.
questions.
Where is this guidebook
Some
available, ma'am?
extent,
I've sent the link on the chat box, Jayant sir. I'll send it again.
Yeah,
No,
please.
to some extent, yes, my questions have been answered, but I've still not figured out what is the best balance that you do. Because if you look at Unnati, they have a year-by-year listing.
Unnati has gone for the second IPO, that's
Yeah,
true.
second year-by-year listing. Whereas if you look at Bal Mandira, I think it is a longer term. So I'm just looking at what is it that organization really look at cost benefit analysis in that whole process of listing and raising money, because everything converts into money. Whoever gives the money, it's not the question, because it is money involved.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there are costs involved for you as an organization, and hence you'll have to just weigh out the pros and cons. I think this is an internal exercise you can do, keeping your budget in mind and keeping the bandwidth in mind as well. Because at the end of the day, it is an investment of your time, resources, certain costs that you will incur. How much of it can you do independently? How much you will need to, hire consultants for it? Whether your organization is the right stage or not. So a lot of these questions, I feel like you'll have to sit internally and answer with your team. And you can also go through some of the FRD documents. See, the project duration, again, it's dependent on you, like, how long that project is required for the objective or the outcome that you're trying to achieve through that.
That can be worked out. That is not a big deal, because what you put in the fundraising document, you decide what you want to put.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can put huge things, or you can put a slice of it, one objective or 3 objectives. So, but your funding will decide how you really want to do it and how much of investment that comes in.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
There's one more question. There are two more actually. One related to this, but before that, are ATG certificates and can be given to donors who support through SSE?
Sorry, where is that question in the chat?
No, ATG certificates, are they given to donors?
As of now, no, but they are working on it.
Okay. And then of course,
It's already inbuilt, because when the demat account, the investor comes in, it gets added to his, his that account details. Because
Yeah.
it's from the demat account. So it's automatically considered. It goes with the statement, because in my statement, I have SSE mentioned.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
The one that NSC gives, BSC gives, it
Hmm.
already mentions it.
Okay. Sure, we have just noted that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can
I think
clarify.
it still needs a bit of clarity because yeah, unless Vernon, you had something to share.
Just going to say that the NSE and BSE are still trying to work
Can't
this out.
hear you.
Yeah.
I think Vernon will just have to type in. His microphone is not the greatest right now. Yeah, if there are more questions, please do ask. Feel free to unmute and ask as well. We have some time. We're linking the guidebook. It's freely available. So do take a look at it. I will also be sending a recording of this webinar along with the deck that Kavita used and the guidebook itself. I will be attaching all of it in an email and sending it to you. Please feel free to share it ahead as well. And hopefully, maybe I'm just thinking now, Kavita, that see, all the questions that are coming in, especially Anita ma'am, Vikram, all of you are raising very valid questions, right, from the NGO side. So maybe we can have hopefully like a panel or something from the organizations who have gone through this process and have successfully raised or unsuccessfully raised. Maybe a conversation with them might be helpful. What do you all think?
Yeah, I just want to mention that we'll be doing a series of workshops online and offline as well in the
Yeah.
coming 2 months. So, and we'll be sharing our outreach emailers to all of you. So keep a note
Yeah.
of that. So if you'd like to attend those workshops as well, please feel free to. We'll be bringing in more people as panelists for those workshops. So do watch out for that space. Today's
Great.
webinar, I think, was to provide like more summary of an information. So I hope that was useful in terms of understanding what SSEs are all about and what the processes are involved. Hopefully you'll be able to take back those insights and help you make decisions. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Are there any more questions? And I hope I've not missed out any. I'm just checking one last time.
Hello.
Yes,
Yeah, you have my email, but when this panel happens, can you just shoot an email inviting me to that?
of course, of course.
Thank you. And it was informative. Thanks for
Thank
the
you,
session.
thank you. And if you have any suggestions, I mean, the panel idea came up right now, but uh, if you have any more suggestions for webinars in general, and of course related to Social Stock Exchange, do let us know. I am sharing, I forgot to share this. I'm sharing a feedback form in the chat box. Please do fill it out. It really helps us, and we do read every single entry on it. So do fill it out for this webinar. And if you have any questions, if you have any further unanswered questions, अगर आपको बाद में भी अगर कुछ याद आए कि अरे ये भी पूछना था, आप इस फॉर्म के द्वारा या हमें डायरेक्टली ईमेल करके भी पूछ सकते हैं. Yes, and I think we have one more question, Kavita, from Harish. Is there any minimum turnover of an NHO? You mean NPO or for an NGO? Sorry, yeah. Is there any minimum turnover required in the
Okay.
eligibility criteria?
For eligibility, if you have raised 10 lakhs in the last year, and if you have an expenditure of 50 lakhs, sorry, 20 lakhs. One second, I'll just share the amount.
Yeah, we'll just confirm it and send it. Yes. Please do fill out the feedback form if you're leaving. And thank you for being a wonderful audience as usual. We hope the session was useful. And we'll stay back and continue some of the questions. I think Anurag has asked, what is the cost of raising 1 CR? Is there like a cost that we've calculated, like all the different costs that were there, like a rough amount?
Because the amounts will be really varying depending on how much the auditors will charge you, or if you're hiring a consultant, that would add to the amounts. I really can't give a very, the ballpark figure can be anywhere around 1 to 3 lakhs, but I really cannot like comment because it depends on who you're hiring, right? So the fees are not there. Technically, the fees from exchange are not there, but it all depends on who you're hiring to help you with the process and how much your auditors are charging you for this process. So it's different for everybody. That's what I would say.
Great. Amazing. Thank you so much. If there are no questions, we can close our session today. Once again, thank you so much. Sharing the feedback form. If there are any more unanswered questions, do type it in. We'll do our best to get back to you within a week or 2 weeks. And do share your suggestions on what more we can do. This was our last webinar for this financial year as well. And thank you for making it a success. All the best as the financial year ends. And I hope that all of you in the next year can raise all your fundraising targets with or without SSE. Yes, and see you all in April. Thank you, Alok Nanda. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. It was a good